Hello everyone.
Hello.
I'm Tony.
And I'm Tally.
And we are the Lazy Book Lovers. This is a podcast for book lovers who procrastinate a bit about reading and have never-ending to-be-read piles. Today's episode is just a reading update on what we've read lately. It's not for like a month, or it's a non-specific amount of time, because we kind of just do these whenever we have read too much and need to do an update so they don't get too long. We don't do this this isn't necessarily May or April, we don't know.
The last few months we've not been procrastinating.
I know, we've not been on brand. We've both been actually reading, although I slowed down a bit this month.
Yeah, this month was...
just a lot of life.
I was not following the high of April, which was crazy amounts of books, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alright, let's do this.
You're just going to go straight into it?
Yeah,
go on. Be focused.
So I have had, I think, quite fantasy heavy this month.
I'm a bit mixed genres for once.
Yeah? Oh,
yeah.
That's exciting, because you're usually
the basic fantasy
heavy
bitch.
One. Yeah. Yeah, and also we were just trying to work out where we got up to last time. I've no clue. So if I repeat myself,
apologies, but
thanks for being a real one. No, I repeated myself.
Yeah.
Or I might have missed some out. Who knows? Follow me on Storygraph.
Because I've discovered, and I think you feel this too, is I don't remember anything we say on this. And every time I listen back, it's like a surprise.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like when we listen back and approve it after editing, I'm like, we did talk about that.
When our editor tells me things I've said, usually because we've annoyed him, because we've done something
because of us,
unprofessional.
As people.
That makes his life difficult. He'd be like, and then you said this, and then you did this, and I'm like, I've got no memory of that.
Mate, that was longer than an hour ago. What are you talking about?
I was like, I have an out of body experience for an hour, and then
yeah, I mean,
say some things.
I can't wait to listen to the I Have a Podcast one. That will have already come out for you guys.
Yeah, so the episode that's coming out next week, midway through, Natalie informs me that she has a podcast.
Just in case you didn't know.
And obviously me being me, that derails the whole episode, because then I just keep saying that.
That was just chaos, that episode. I do feel sorry for the editor in that one.
Right, anyway.
Okay, so I read Song of Silver, Flame Like Night by Amelie Wenqiao. I don't think I've spoken about this. It's the first in the Song of the Last Kingdom series duology, to be confirmed. I don't know. I didn't realise it was not a standalone till the ending, and I was like, wait, what? Oh, there's more.
I hate ones like that.
I was
had a few of them.
Very distressed. I thought it was a standalone.
I'm like, how is this going to end? How are they going to wrap this up? They can't.
I was watching it getting closer and closer to the end, and I was like, what?
I hate those ones.
So yeah, I was a little bit like, what you doing to me, bro?
No. No, thank you.
So this is a YA. I would say it's young YA.
Okay.
And it is a adventure featuring mythology and magic. And the mythology, I believe, is Chinese based, but not 100% on that, so don't quote me on it, please. So it follows a girl called Lan. So I think she's 15, but I would say, okay, so I'm going to tangent for a moment.
She just leaned forward and put her hands like, right,
listen. I saw a TikTok of someone who was talking about, they were specifically talking about, so they're an author and they are autistic or on the autism spectrum somewhere. And she was saying that she writes her YA protagonist in relation to her. So, but a lot of feedback she gets is that they're written very young for their age. And then I was reading the comments and people were saying, yeah, autistic written young adults or teenagers are always written younger than sort of neurotypical characters, and it's because of how your brain actually develops. So it's actually a reflection of real life. And I was like, as a reader, I've never really noticed this. I get very annoyed when teenagers, I feel, are written that they could easily change them to like 25 and it would still make sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, for me, I prefer I'm doing like little quote marks, younger written teenagers, because to me they feel more like teenagers.
Because teenagers are just children in big bodies.
Yeah.
Like that's what they are.
Still basically have children brains.
Yeah.
You don't have an adult brain until you're 25. Like, yeah. So, this, I some people would probably describe it as younger written. Like, she's 15, but she could easily be 12. I don't know. But to me, I thought she was written like a 15-year-old. I don't know. Maybe I just had a different life to everyone. Maybe I just haven't been diagnosed with something. Who knows? But some of the reviews I've seen said that she's written kind of young, and I did not think that.
Okay.
But I just thought I'd throw it out there in case you don't like your YA sounding young in quotes.
Yeah.
So Lan is someone so this is like an empire that has been taken over by the magic wielders, who are, they kind of like have, it's almost like shadow magic.
Okay.
And they very much, it's quite militant, they rule the empire. And Lan is someone whose mother died when she was younger, was killed by these people who rule the empire, and she now works in what is a brothel, basically.
Okay.
She is a performer there. She does not partake. Yeah. She is a performer and like a waitress. But there's a lot, like, she is apparently when she sings, people like stop and look because she's so amazing. So she has a mark on her arm that only she can see, and the character she doesn't recognise, and that mark was left there by her mum before she died.
Yeah.
So she's like best friends with a local like antiquities dealer, and she's written down the mark for him, and he's trying to find anything with that mark on so she can work out what it means. So he like buys in scrolls and stuff, and she tries to find this mark because she wants to find out about her mum and her history. And one day she meets someone called Zen, who is a practitioner of a different type of magic, the kind of magic that the shadow people are like trying to stamp out.
Okay.
It was more of like a free magic. It was like different communities had their different version of the magic and stuff, and it was all free magic, and then the Empire came and stamped it all out. And he can see the mark, and so he comes across her because he is a dealer for the dealer that she goes to visit, and then he saves her from the brothel when a soldier decides to buy her, and she's like, don't freaking think so, mate. Yeah. So Zen saves her, and then he takes her to his like secret school, I guess, like where there's people training the older type of magic in secret. He takes her there, and they discovered that like her song is kind of like a style of magic.
Okay.
It's really cute, and I thought it was very well written. It like the descriptions of the world and stuff, and the world building was really beautiful. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was great. It was a book I got from like Fairy Loot or Luma Crate, so I got a really gorgeous edition as well.
Oh, pretty.
So yeah,
I was looking at subscriptions for those, and I was so tempted.
Fairy Loot has just opened up the wait list for a new one, which I was tempted by because I cancelled all my other subscriptions. But they've just set up the wait list for a new one, which is, I used to get the adult book only, but they're now going to do book only, adult and YA books, book only, because I don't want all of the stuff with it, the merchandise.
Yeah.
And I was tempted. It's like £40 a month, or with postage it would have been like £46 a month.
I was looking at another one that was like $25 a month, but like I got rid of a bunch of my like subscriptions, as in like Prime and all them, to save money, and then I was like, I can't justify adding
just moving the Prime.
And also,
to books.
where would they go?
And like the reason I cancelled on mine is because I've got all of these beautiful books, but I haven't read them. So I said to myself, I'm going to cancel them until I read these books.
Yeah.
And then decide if it's worth it. And if it is, I'll go back on the wait list.
Because if I had somewhere to display them, it would make sense. But
I think I would just rather source like the special editions of books I want.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think that's like where I am at the minute. That's what I mean. I also need to try and save space with my books.
Yeah, both of our houses are full.
Yeah, and I came home on Sunday with like a bag full of books, and so yeah.
Right, since I've only got 6, did you want to do one more of yours? Or...
yeah, I can double it up with this one. The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O. So I was trying to read as many Asian authors or characters as possible. I didn't read as many as I'd hoped, but overall May was a bit of a shitty reading month. So, but yeah, The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. Do you remember I gave this description last time? You probably won't remember. I described this book when I was talking about Daughter of the Moon Goddess. And I was like, described this one by mistake.
I don't remember. I feel like I remember you talking about this, but I'd also,
So, this is a retelling of a Korean folklore, and this follows a character called Mina, who she, in the town she lives in, well, it's more of a village, they are next to the sea, and every year they is it every year, or is it, no, I think it's every 10 years. Every 10 years they I was going to say donate, not donate,
sacrifice.
Donate a beautiful maiden.
We're just donating it. Why are you crying?
To the sea, to the sea god, to be his wife. And there is a backstory to why they do it. And so Mina's brother has a bride to be, and she is picked as the one who will be yeeted into the sea. And everyone's sad because she's so beautiful, and Mina's like, this bitch is too beautiful, man. So she volunteers as tribute and jumps in instead. And the whole time, so apparently the storms that keep ravaging the village will stop when the true bride is found.
Okay.
So that's why they just keep throwing bints into the water. And Mina goes in, and the whole time she's like,
I haven't had the word bin in
I know.
so long. I'm sorry, that really distracts me.
It's because I was thinking about I recently rewatched Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and they're like, just get some watery bint through your sword.
Like bin is like a very London-y term, like for a woman, but obviously it's derogatory.
Yeah, but I don't mean it.
Yeah, and then it's not a positive name for a
watery
woman.
bin. Yeah, that's a very specific word. I forgot that, like, that's not what other people aren't gonna be like, oh yeah, bin.
Carry on, sorry.
And the whole time Mina's like, well, I'm not as beautiful as, I don't even remember the name.
What's her face?
Yeah, of Pretty Girl.
Pretty what's her face?
Cheong. I'm not as beautiful as her, so I'm not the true bride, whatever. And then when she gets down there, so it's like a whole city underwater, and it's really cool.
Was it just a city of discarded brides?
There are them, but then there's like demons, different gods.
Okay.
It kind of like the description. Some people keep describing it as like Spirited Away, and it does give those kind of vibes.
Okay.
I don't know. If
I've never seen that. No.
I've
been told to watch it several times with several different people.
Agreed. And yeah, so it's like a spirit realm underwater, and there's like gods, mythical beasts, the brides that weren't the true bride, etc., demons, and she gets like this ribbon that goes from like her chest, and it just flows off, and apparently that's who you're like connected to.
Okay.
soulmate style. And she's like, well, it's not going to be to the sea god, is it? Because
look at me. I'm not as pretty as what's her face.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really cute. It was really beautifully written. It was really adorable.
Just like nice imagery.
Yeah, gorgeous. Again, I would say some people would probably say it's written young. I thought it was perfect. Okay. They were both great reads, and I read them one after the other, and it was just wonderful. It was just good vibes all round.
Nice cute vibes. In a swift change in tone.
Yes, please bring this down.
I read the first to die at the end.
Did you capture your tears for Witchcraft?
You know what? It's not as sad as the first book. So this is the prequel to They Both Die at the End. Maybe I'm cold and heartless. I would say it's not sad.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did it need to be written?
Yes and no.
Okay,
so so the story in it is cute. So this is about when the premise of They Both Die at the End is that there's an app called Deathcast. Everyone has this app, and they ring you at between midnight and 2 a.m. on the day you're going to die and say you've got 24 hours to live.
How pissed off would you be to wake up
to
that and be like, I could just kept sleeping?
Yeah.
It's my last day. Let me
sleep. So, like, the inbuilt into the app is, like, you can't silent it because it's
like, just leave me a voicemail. I'll deal with it in the morning.
Yeah. So, there's a whole... By the time we get to They Both Die in the End, there's a whole culture built around the app. There's last dayers that are called deckers. And we find out why they're called deckers in this book.
So every morning between midnight and 2 a.m, every person in the world is on panic station in case they get a phone call.
Yes.
That's not conducive to good sleep.
No. So obviously the whole culture of the world has changed to revolve around this. And there's lots of last day bars where nothing's illegal. And people just kind of close their eyes to what goes on behind there, underage drinking, obviously, like, because you're going to die. So there's this whole thing in the books of, like, is it just you've been told you're going to die, so the people go out and have their last days, and then they're doing really reckless stuff because they've been told they're going to die.
Like, if you drink yourself to death, is that how you are meant to die?
If you die from an overdose that you wouldn't have taken if you hadn't been told you were a decker. So that undercurrent is through all the books.
Okay.
Both books. So in this one, this is the day the Deathcast app launches. So this is like the first ever. That's why it's the first to die at the end, because it's the first ever Deathcaster.
Okay.
So the thing launches. So we've got our two main characters. We've got Valentino, who's just moved to New York to escape his homophobic parents. He's going there to be a model. His sister's flying out to join him the next day. She's going to be a photographer. They've basically given up everything to go to New York to pursue their dreams.
Okay.
He's booked his first ever big national campaign. So, like, big moments. He gets there, and he's without his sister's coming the next day, so he's on his own. And he's like, okay, I'm going to head out and have my big New York moment. So he goes to Times Square where the Deathcast launch event is.
Okay.
And there he meets our other main, Orion. So Orion has a sort of terminal heart condition. So basically he's fine, but when his heart gives out, he dies.
Oh, yeah.
They do explain what his heart condition is, but he regularly has heart attacks, and each time he has a heart attack, this could be his moment.
Yeah.
So he is excited about Deathcast because it means every day he can know for sure he won't die that day.
Yeah.
So that means he can start going out and having a bit more fun and knowing his heart's not going to give out.
Yeah.
Because
it's a lot of trust to put into a random app.
Yeah. Which, obviously, at this point, it's not proven that it works.
Yeah.
But he's, like, hoping. He's got this newfound hope that because
he'll have a reason to
Deathcast doesn't call him that day, he could go out and go, like, just to the mall with friends and not worry about having a heart attack.
Yeah.
That day and die. So, for him, Deathcast means completely different. And at the Deathcast launch event...
It's like freedom for him.
Yeah. At the Deathcast launch event, they've got people coming up like him who are coming up to speak about what Deathcast means to them and their stories, so their tragic stories.
Okay. And
Orion's parents died in 9/11, so he's thinking if Deathcast had been around during 9/11, would 9/11 even have happened? Because if they got that phone call but they not have gone to the towers that day, would they have stayed home?
But then would they not have died a different way?
So that's the
Final Destination up in here.
Yeah. And he's like, if all the people on the planes in 9/11 had got a call from Death Class, that flight wouldn't have taken off, potentially. So there's also that other layer to it in this book. Or like the whole time, that's what Orion's thinking about. Is like, what if this had been around with my parents? So
if you don't have a phone,
yeah, you can't obviously. There's loads of people who don't sign up for Death Class, and then you're not in the system.
I assumed it was like a forced thing. Like...
No, it's not. It's not mandatory. But just by the time we get to the other book, they both die at the end. It's weird if you don't have Death Class.
Yeah, because everyone has. It's
because there's such a culture built around it.
Yeah,
but this is back in the day when not everyone had phones that could have apps.
Like now, if you meet someone that's like, I don't have any social media, you're like,
oh,
what?
Okay.
not even Facebook from 10 years ago. Like, what are you talking about?
So not everyone can have apps. Not everyone believes in it. There's lots of people that are signalling doomsday. So there's lots of that kind of stuff going on.
Okay.
So Orion's there. He's gone to give the testimonial about like his experience with death and what Death Class means to him. He wants to do that whole thing, and that's where he meets Valentino. Valentino's just there to sort of
party out.
Yeah, to have the experience. Quite shy, quite reserved. Is from a very conservative town, and has never been able to openly be his best gay self. So then he's trying to be, and then he sees this really hot guy who's like crying, and he's like, "You're cute." So then they meet at the event, and they get talking, and they persuade Valentino to download the Death Class app, and he only pays for a day because you have to pay for it.
Oh, okay.
He only pays for it.
Yeah, no, there's no way.
It's really expensive as well.
Yeah, I would not be doing that.
He pays for a day's subscription.
You wake me up, and I have to pay for it.
Yeah, I'd just rather die and not know about it.
Cheers.
So downloads the app, and then midnight happens, and lo and behold, Valentino gets the call, not Orion.
What the shit?
Yeah. So Valentino, completely healthy.
Yeah.
He's like, because he's a model and he's like trained all his life to like also have the physique of a model to make it big. So he like eats really healthily, doesn't drink. Like he's really strict about his health in order to look and feel his best to be a model.
Yeah.
And then he's sat there with like a guy who's got a terminal heart condition, and then he's the one that gets the call. And then seconds later, a mass shooter appears in Times Square because of the Doomsday event.
Yeah.
And then all the people.
Kids America.
Yeah. And then
also, we love you.
Yeah.
All of our listeners.
But dudes, what the fuck? And Ryan chooses to save him, like knocks him out of the way of the bullet, and the Valentino's like, wow, I'm gonna die. And Ryan's like, well, I wasn't just gonna let it happen. Like, God, like, we know I'm not gonna die.
I'll milk the day.
I didn't get a phone call, so like I might as well save you. And he's like, why?
Oh, that's just so much trust in it.
Yeah.
Like something like
yeah.
Unless no, not for me.
And then his sister can't get to him because she's flying from Texas where they live.
So she's not going to arrive before he dies.
Well, she's supposed to.
Okay.
But then someone hurt the pilot on her flight gets his Death Class call.
All right.
And then so the flight won't take off because and then the pilot like barricades himself in the because he obviously post 9/11 he's convinced there's a hijacker on the plane and that's what's going to kill him. So he then barricades himself in the cockpit and then the flight can't take off and all this kind of stuff, and there's no policy at this point surrounding if someone on that flight gets a Death Class call, can it take off? Because like by the time we get to the next book, it's like everyone's Death Class status gets checked before they're allowed to fly.
Okay.
In case they bring down the whole plane or something.
But then wouldn't everyone get not everyone has the app. Okay.
So yeah, but by the we get to the
why am I thinking too much into this? I'm just so curious about this whole thing.
And then Orion, because of the stress of like saving someone from getting shot, he then has a heart attack and they have to go to hospital. And when he arrives in hospital, they ask his status, if he's been called by Death Class. And then we're already at this point where we don't know whether if he's been given Death Class status, would they try and save him or would they just leave him? So it's the beginning of that. There's no policies in place at this point.
Yeah.
So it's like, but the first question they asked was, did he get a call from Death Class? Before they would treat Orion, who's not the one who got the call.
Yeah.
So then Valentino's like, well, he's type O blood type, and Orion's been on the waiting list for a heart transplant for ages. So he was like, well, if I'm going to die today, then I might as well do something good with my life.
I just don't understand, like, no, I need to stop thinking too much into this.
It's
like,
a
why
bit of a
would
head
you
fuck.
just accept it so readily and be like, okay,
well, there's
sure,
a lot
take
of,
my
like,
heart.
there's a lot of, so throughout the night, they're checking, like, news articles to see how many people who got the call then died.
Yeah.
And, like, it's by the time they reach about, like, 8 o'clock in the morning, it's been 100% success rate so far.
So do you know, like, who it is that like, where this information comes from? Does it ever go into that? Like,
well, this is my issue with this book, okay?
Okay.
Because on the original book, they both die at the end. It's just kind of this app, and it's all very remote. Whereas there's certain chapters that are written from the app's creator's point of view. Joaquin Phoenix or something he is. I can't remember now. I might have just said that with confidence, and I'm wrong. It doesn't say it in the summary. But yeah, so there's certain chapters that are from the app's creator's point of view, and his wife, and they are boring and pointless. They are really slow chapters. And they don't add anything, and there's lots
of... So they, like, ruin the pace of the book.
Yeah, and also there's loads of allusions to the technology behind Deathcast, but they don't ever reveal the secret of how it works. There's loads of, like, allusions to the algorithm, or, like, the technology behind it, and there's, like, a mysterious basement where he goes, because some of the people who are Deathcasters didn't get called. So people who have signed up for the app, who died that day, weren't called. So like, they missed about 3 people in, like, of all of their sign-ups. So then he goes...
Because, I'm not being funny, if an app like this was made by a corporation, I'd be like, you can fuck off, I'm not giving you more money.
And it sort of goes into the history of, like...
I'll trust you.
He had government backing.
Yeah, that also...
So he gets, like, government grants to do this.
I think, like... You either go into the details of it and somehow win me round, even though I'm not reading it, or you just don't allude to it at all.
That's what I mean. There's loads of, like, half allusions, and it's the guy. He's been like, the reason he created the app was that so everyone can live their last day to the fullest, or everyone can live their days to the fullest. So if you know you're not going to die, you can go out into the work knowing you're not going to die that day.
Yeah,
and you can just, like, live it up. So his whole thing is, I just wanted to give people this gift. And then the people who are going to die know they're going to die and can live their last days the best they can. So he makes it out like it's super selfless. But then
raking in the money. I mean, if it's selfless, you'd have it for free. Surely,
so raking in the money, and then they have their heralds. They're called, who are the people that call to people to let them know they're dying.
So it's actual humans.
Yeah, so it's a call centre,
and that's
where they're calling
dodgy,
people to say you're going to die today.
Because, like, human, like, fallibility, like...
So they have a script they're supposed to stick to.
Yeah.
And they have a target number of phone calls they're supposed to make. Like any call centre. So, but then, and it's him, so it's this guy who's saying, like, selfish, and, like, they did all this training with the heralds to make sure that they wouldn't be traumatised by doing this job, or that they'd be able to handle the calls, like, correctly. And stuff like this. And there was a heavy vetting process of the heralds before they were picked. His wife's a psychologist, so she did a lot of the psychological analysis before they picked the heralds. But then he has one guy who, like, he rings an 80-year-old man, and this 80-year-old man just wants to tell him about his life. Because he's like, he's got no one. He's got no family, no friends, no neighbours he's friendly with. He's a very lonely old man. So he's like, okay, if I'm going to die, I want to tell you some things. So he's on this call for like 40 minutes. And Joaquin's there like, hurry up! Like...
Where's the compassion?
But he's like, there's more people that need saving, and like...
Oh, no.
So you need to be able to help more people. It's not just this one old man, like... And then there's another herald who's enjoying it a bit too much and powers through all her calls. And I think we meet her in the next book.
Oh, there's going to be another one?
She's in... Because... They both die at the end of set later.
Yeah.
She's still a herald, I believe. Don't quote me on this. In the next book, I think she's the one that goes to rooftops and at midnight, and if she doesn't get called, she doesn't jump. So there's a whole random second storyline.
You can't see my face. I'm like, the fuck?
Yeah. So she's like, basically, if they don't call her that day, she doesn't jump because she's not meant to die that day, and she does it every night.
Okay.
I know.
Sorry,
So-
I derailed you there. Like,
So yeah,
so he's like, you can have my heart. That's where we were up to.
yeah.
before I
So
got a
he's
bit
like,
distracted.
yeah. If I die, you can have my heart because I'm type O. I'm compatible with everyone. So they run all the tests, and he does have a healthy heart. So Orion's like, oh, but you're like a really hot dude that I kind of think this could have been a magical relationship, and now like I'm just waiting for you to die.
Yeah.
So then, because there'll be surgery at some point, he won't eat anything. So Valentino doesn't eat his whole last day, so he doesn't have a last meal or anything. And Orion's...
I guess that's like actually selfless, unlike the maker of the app.
And Orion's sort of adoptive sister is like saying like, well, you guys can't go out and explore because we need to keep you safe until you die so you can give my brother his healthy heart. Like, sorry what's happening to you, but...
She's like, listen, walking heart transplant.
Yeah, she's like, you're going to die anyway, so like, don't take my brother down with you.
Yeah. So the hospital wouldn't just take the heart, they're like, you got to
Well,
die
no,
first,
they have
or...
to go to the whole ethics board.
Yeah.
Because Valentino at one point is offering to be put to sleep alive, not euthanized, under anaesthesia, be put to sleep, and then they take his heart out while he's still living, and then he gently passes away from that. So he's saying, like, well, if I'm going to die any day anyway, I might as well be when I choose it, and it's not from something traumatic, and it does it because that's
heart's safe.
That's the most optimal way to give someone a heart transplant is a living, beating heart.
This all sounds madness.
Yeah, it was a bit deep. So, like, at one point, they're basically implying that Valentino's going to get basically euthanized so he can give his heart. This
sounds like more on like the drama side than the other book is. The other book was just emotional and
a love story,
romance kind
of thing. They go out and they're trying to live their best last days, and it's all about that. And it's about like Matteo getting confidence and all that kind of stuff. And Rufus, like,
quite a change of tone.
Yeah,
this one sounds more like a thriller.
No, because Orion and Valentino do go out and try and have a last day together, but things keep going wrong.
Yeah.
Like I say, his sister's flight doesn't take off. And then he's supposed to have his photo shoot for the modelling agency, but then the photographer can't make it for some reason. So then his last photo shoot, which is his dream, can't happen. Oh. So then him and Orion go to a pawn shop and just buy like a digital camera. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to fill this. We're going to do photo shoots around New York of your first and last day around New York. And the guy who owns the shop is Rufus's dad, who's the main character in the next book.
Oh.
So you see...
That's a cool little tie-in.
Yeah, because by the next book, his whole family's dead. Rufus's family's dead. Yeah. So it's kind of cute. You get to meet Rufus's dad, and his mum is the surgeon who's going to do Orion and Valentino's surgery.
This is all very
Yeah, and then they also meet Matteo in the park.
Very fan servicey now.
Yeah, so they meet Matteo in the park and Matteo's dad, and they both die at the end. Matteo's dad is in a coma, so we never meet his dad either. And it's like, yeah, so there's some cute callbacks.
Do you think they? Who's the author? Is it Adam Silvero?
Yeah.
Do you think he'll write any more? Like, was it left like, hey, let's write some more?
I think there's potential to squeeze more stories out of this, but I think it will ruin it.
Dealing with it.
Yeah, I think it will ruin the magic of it, because like even this book kind of took me out of the magic of the first one.
Yeah.
And like the way he dies, it's just you see it coming from a million miles away, whereas the way the deaths happen and they both die at the end you just don't see them coming.
I was going to say, does he die?
Yeah.
Because it'd be a bit awkward if he didn't.
Yeah, he does die, but it's just in like, it literally would not have happened if he was a Deathcaster, if he wasn't a Deathcaster, if he didn't get the phone call.
He like put himself in a situation that he wouldn't have been in otherwise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could argue, so basically it's his neighbour, his landlord is a wife beater and is a terrible, terrible man. And he decides he's going to make his fortune by getting a picture of one of the Deckers dying.
Alright.
And then when he finds out a Decker's living in his building, he's like, you're my guy. So then he waits by his door against the keyhole waiting for Valentino to come home.
Alright.
Yeah. But meanwhile, his wife is friends with one of the heralds, the guy who gets the phone call from the 80-year-old man. He quits that day because he's like, if I wasn't allowed to talk to this old man,
who's just been told he's going to die.
Yeah. So what he does, he quits at the end of the phone calls, so like when their shift ends, and then he goes and finds the old man. Told him about the cafe he goes to every day. So he goes to the cafe, meets the old man. The old man tells him about his life, and he's like, I had the love of my life. And he's like, do you have someone like that? And he's like, well, yeah, but she's married and he's a terrible guy, and I wish I'd told her how I felt before she got married. And then he's like, well, go tell her. So then he does, and he's like, I'm going to save you. I'm going to help save you from this terrible man. And then they've come back to tell the terrible man, off you go. And that's the point at which Valentino comes home. So you could argue none of this would have happened without Deathcast.
Yeah.
Like, he might have still been beaten on his wife, and that's when Valentino interferes. But...
yeah.
It's not a spoiler, because, like, it's literally called they die at the end, so, like...
The first to die at the end. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So would you say it's required reading if you like they both die at the end?
No.
Cool.
No. It was alright. It wasn't nearly as sad. It wasn't nearly as uplifting. Because the first book was all about, like, finding purpose in life, and, like...
Yeah.
And there's, like, all this stuff where, like, Orion wants to be a writer, and Valentino wants to be a model, and, like, dreams, and... I don't know, it doesn't feel as authentic as the first one did. So, yeah. And it was a whole lot of, like, death as well. Like, it was very deathy. The other one didn't feel as deathy.
Yeah.
This is very focused, like, because Orion's always known he's going to die. And then suddenly he's got this second chance of life.
Valentino's just like, just kill me now, whatever, just kill me now.
Yeah.
Hello.
So yeah.
Cool.
And like, I don't know, like he goes to visit Orion's like adoptive family, and they like throw him a little party because he's saving Orion's life, and it's all a bit
That's
weird.
Really awkward.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like that.
Yeah. But obviously this is the first Deathcast, and no one knows what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. And maybe some people would like that, a little party for them before they kick the bucket.
Because he can't see anyone, he doesn't speak to his parents, and his sister can't get to him in time.
What would you do if you only had one day to live?
A nap.
Yeah, do you know what? That's what I'm thinking.
Sounds exhausting.
I'd be like, kids, come and have a nap with me. Let's just have a little cuddle and a nap.
Because what could you realistically get to within a day of travel that would make it worthwhile?
Is there a book I'd be like, I'm finally going to read this book?
Yeah.
No, because I'd just spend time with my kids, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
And have to explain to a 5-year-old that I'm going to die. I don't know how, I don't know when.
Not to get a bit morbid with this, but...
like, yeah.
Yeah, so I get what the book was trying to do, but I just think we could have just had... I didn't like the whole that second subplot with the app's creator and all the stuff.
Yeah, I don't think that needs to be there by sounds of
the
it.
subplots in the second one were much more interesting than this one. Yeah. So there you go. Little nugget of joy for you guys.
Shall I do my one?
Yeah.
Because speaking of death, I've got a book about an assassin.
Okay.
The Old Woman with the Knife by Gyo Byung-mo. And this is a translated book from Korean, I believe, and the translator is Chi Young Kim. And this follows a woman who's in her 60s and she's an assassin, and she still is working as an assassin. So she's kind of reaching that age where can she still do her job, for starters. Until now, she has never had anything go wrong or never failed an assignment or anything. She goes on an assignment and something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, is it due to her age? Is it like her mind? Is it starting to go? Things like this. So you just kind of follow her life a bit, like going to the doctor, getting checkups.
She goes to the doctor and say, hey, I did manage to kill someone. I think something's wrong. Yeah,
so the doctor she sees is like a specific doctor that works with everyone from her agency.
Okay.
And she doesn't mention to him that she's concerned about anything because she doesn't want it written up in her records. But yeah, and so she has a dog that she found like years ago that's called Deadbeat, I think.
All good assassins have a little dog that they would die for.
And that's the only thing in her life. She's never got married, she's never had children. She made those decisions because she didn't want her family to be at risk due to her job.
Yeah.
And there's a guy who's an assassin for the agency she works for, and he just seems to have a real problem with her, and she doesn't know why.
Okay.
It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like a book about what is the meaning of life kind of thing. Like, how important is it to have family?
Oh, so it's the same kind of tune.
Yeah. We do get a few chapters from she calls him like the whippersnapper or something, from the younger guy that seems to just hate her for being an old lady. She goes to see her doctor because she slips up on an assignment and she gets injured, which is kind of like the start of this whole thing. And she goes to see her doctor, but he's not there, so she sees a different doctor. And she's really concerned he's going to tell someone, etc. And then she kind of gets obsessed with this doctor and his family and his child, and it kind of makes her think what her life could have been if she'd had children or got married. So, and then it has flashbacks, and it was really good. It was really interesting.
So interesting. You always pick up books that I would never have thought to pick up. If I'd have read that blurb, I wouldn't have picked it up. Like, it's not something I'd think to pick up.
Yeah. I got this from one of the book subscriptions I do, the Rare Bird Book Club, which is like feminist fiction.
Okay.
It was just really, really interesting, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
Sorry, I keep yawning.
That's alright.
It's not you, it's
the
life.
Sleep.
No, you know what?
The too much.
I've been sleeping alright, and I've been sleeping a good medium amount. I think I just...
How dare you?
Well, because I can drive now, I passed my test, woohoo. I think we mentioned that already. But anyway, I can go to the gym and swimming more, and if I just feel like doing a bit of exercise, I'll just go.
Have you been going to do?
So I've been doing more exercise, and obviously then my life is generally fairly busy.
Yeah.
And it's hitting me a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I need to. I don't know. I think I need some #protein or something.
At least you've got a holiday booked in at some point.
Not till July, mid-July. But in adult time, that's like 2 weeks. I'll just blink.
Yeah, and you'll be there.
Because I blinked and May went by, so it won't be that long. Shall I don't know what our ratio of books is, so I don't know whether you need to do another one before I do.
1, 2, 3, I've got like 4.
Okay. I probably should do another one.
I reread The Atlas 6 twice. I've already spoken about it a lot, so.
Because you met the author. Yeah. I was very excited about it. Okay.
Check out my TikTok for more.
Yeah. It's a very good TikTok, so go to it. Alright, so I read, and this is a listen. This is Audible included library.
My favourite ones.
I was looking for shite. I was looking for shite to listen to whilst working. And I have not read a bit of vampire shite like this in so long.
I'm so excited. Yeah.
So I'm just going to read the description and stuff to you first, and then I'm going to talk about it.
Okay, go
on. All right. Black Sunshine by Dark Eyes Book 1 by Karina Hale or Hal, I'm not sure. Okay, I'm going to read the description, seriously. All Lenore Warwick wants for her 21st birthday is to hang out with her friends, finish her second year at Berkeley and with flying colours, and maybe catch the eye of a hot musician playing a show at the club that she can now, brackets, legally get into. Unfortunately, fate has other plans for her. A week before her birthday, she's kidnapped by the brooding and dangerous stranger with cold eyes and a lethal touch, who's been stalking her on San Francisco's fog-shrouded streets.
Of course he has.
Absalon Starvig.
Sorry, what? That's his name?
Absalon Starvig, which is a fantastic vampire name.
Had to kidnap her, because she'd have been like, fuck off.
I'm Absalon, you're a vampire.
Yeah, I'm sorry, how long have you been 17?
This is the skin of a killer. Absalom Starbuck isn't your average criminal, though. He's a centuries-old vampire. Who could have seen that coming? Who's caught between wanting to kill Lenore and wanting to save her. So you see...
himself.
You see, Lenore, too, is a vampire.
Oh.
She just doesn't know it yet.
What?
Taken by a pair of vampire slayers when she was just an infant, Lenore was raised never knowing her true nature. All Lenore knows is that she has normal parents who love her, that she's exceptionally smart and squeamish around blood. But once she turns 21, she'll fully turn into a vampire, and Solon hopes he'll be there to guide her, opening her eyes to her deepest hunger, both sexual and otherwise. But this turning can't be kept a secret. Soon both slayers and vampires are hunting Lenore, with only Solon and his unpredictable motley crew of vampires to save her. If they don't kill her first, Black Sunshine is a dark adult standalone romance with a paranormal twist about sex, love, secrets and revenge set in contemporary San Francisco. So much to unpack.
Why is it always children? Why? Why is your
She's
soulmate...
20.
She's a child. Why is
She's
your
20.
soulmate...
He might be 300, but she is 20, so she's not a child.
Her adult brain hasn't formed yet. Why is she... Not that you've said the word soulmate, but why is she the one?
Okay. So, her parents are vampire slayers. In this world, vampires can be born. Like, vampires can procreate.
But then not turn into a vampire till they're 21.
Yeah.
21 is very weird because that's like a human age thing.
Okay, but weirdly, so the girls is 21, men is 35. Because reasons.
Why is the patriarchy even coming into vampire books? Come on.
Okay, so she's born to a pair of vampires who her parents vampire slay in revenge for one of them hurting one of them's family. And then they're like, oh, there's this baby. Well, we can't kill a baby, right? But then it turns out she's like part witch. And they are witches. Witches are vampire slayers in this world. And they're like, well, she is one of us, sort of. She's also a vampire, but she's one of us, so we can't kill her. So then they take her. And then they quit vampire slaying. And
where did the witch part come from?
Because witches and vampires are like enemies, so it's like, how did this happen?
Okay.
Because her mother was the vampire, and that like usually it's witch women who have been seduced by male vampires against their will to have babies. So it being the other way around, it's just no one can fathom it.
Yeah,
it means she willingly had sex with a witch and
maybe she seduced him.
And then they just don't tell her that she's a vampire. And then they just start acting weird around her birthday. And they're like, oh yeah, so to celebrate your birthday, we're going to... They're a bit hippie-ish because they're witches, but they've never told us that they're witches. And they're like, oh yeah, we're going to go to the desert on your birthday. Just for fun.
Just for lols.
Just cause.
Yeah, why not? 21, you can legally drink.
We're going to take you to the desert.
Let's go to the desert. It's very dry there.
But Absalom kidnaps her before that's possible.
If you met someone called Absalom, or you just walk away, wouldn't you? You'd be like,
well,
how long have you been?
Someone else kidnaps her first, posing as a taxi driver. And then when he turns down a dark, creepy tunnel, she's like, hey, this might not be alright.
This is giving me, like... inspired.
It's classic vampire shite, isn't it?
It's like inspired by Discovery of Witches, but you made it really cheesy.
And then so the guy, she like tries to skip a kidnapper, and then he has to knock her out, and then Absalom finds out, and he's cross that she got knocked out.
I hate that.
I know. They called him Solon as a shorten.
That's like, and it's also a name that I would expect to hear in, what is that called? The Harry Potter fiction. My Immortal, yeah.
Or if it was in like What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes.
You would just be like, yeah, perfect.
I love that show.
So then he takes her back to his little vampire lair, which is like a house disguised by magic in the main square of San Francisco.
Of course.
Because of course. And in it is a bunch of like vampires who all hate her for some inexplicable reason.
Because she's half witch? Oh.
No, they just hate her. It's never really explained.
Mm.
And then
maybe because she's a child.
At no point does anyone explain to her what's going on. Absalom's like, just get in this room and shut up. And she's like, what? And he's like, just shut up. And she's like, but why have I been taken? And he's like, I'm not telling you. And then like she starts to go through the transformation and they don't tell her.
Are her parents trying to find her? Or
No. Because they realised the vampires came back for her. So they're just like,
she's like, that sucks. We raised her for 20 years, but whatever. Off we go.
So like her friends
Let's
are
go find another kid.
So this is how Absalom proves that her parents aren't good people to her. Because she's like, where are my parents? What have you done to them? And he's like, they're fine. Like, they're vampires.
They're on holiday.
Like, they're fine. And then he, like, shows her, like, text that they've sent her friend to say, oh, I've decided to go on holiday with my parents after all. I'll get back to you soon when I've got signal. So her parents just, like, disappear for a bit.
Because they always do in these books, don't they?
Because, yeah. And then she starts transforming. Now, stage 1 of the transformation...
Being horny.
It's the lust phase.
Of course.
But Absalom will not service her. She refuses. He instead brings in some other vampire. Who's like, so-and-so will deal with you. And then he just stands there and watches. And there's a very long scene where she describes this vampire going down on her. What Absalom commands of like, now make her come.
Why isn't he doing it?
It's beneath him.
It's beneath me to make you come.
And then she's in like
just voyeuring around the house.
Yeah, and then she's in this like lust fugue state for a few days. She doesn't remember any of it, but she does have sex with this guy several times. That's
she
nice.
doesn't remember.
Yeah, but not.
Sounds like
apparently she
consent
was.
is weird in this book.
Well, apparently she did consent enthusiastically, but obviously it's because she was in the lust phase. They make that very clear after the fact that he's like, you wanted this, and she's like, but I don't remember it. And he's like, but you said yes, and she's like, okay. Anyway, you know when a book knows it's done something dodgy and is trying to cover its ass?
You know, like this thing called rape.
Yeah. So anyway, but I mean, what is a bit of classic vampire romance without a little rapey element?
I mean,
it's another staple of the genre.
I feel like a better way to deal with it is he could have just chucked in a toy while she's in her little porn house.
Oh, like why not just make it so she remembers?
Yeah.
Why make her wake up 2 days later with no memory of it?
Yeah, or just how are her parents going to deal with it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that is Absalom's point. Later in the book,
they were going to take her to the desert.
Later in the book, he's like, you have no idea what the transformation entails. And then she's like, oh shit, what would I have done?
That's orcs, yeah. I'm not saying I approve of any of this.
And then the next stage is like hunger, but then it's not that bad for her because she's half witch or some shit.
Oh, like Bella's one.
Yeah, but she feeds off of Absalom, and then for some reason can feed off no one else, not even humans.
That's not below him, but fulfilling her sexually would have been below him.
Yeah.
Is it because he needs to be a nice guy? And
well, no, there's a reason. There's a tragic backstory, TM.
Oh, he's got trauma about going down on someone.
No, so apparently, because he's not... So there's two types of vampires. The vampires that are born and vampires that are turned. And the ones that are turned are basically like half animal. They're like beasts.
Okay.
And they have the bloodlust way, way worse. And sex makes them turn into like evil monsters.
Like Angel in Buffy. Right, okay.
No, watch Buffy. I keep meaning to.
I'm just
so
like,
he's like, I can't do this with you. I'll hurt you. And she's like, I don't care. I care about the person beneath. I see you. And he's like, no, I will legit kill you. And she's like, but please.
Okay, just to be clear, Orpha, I'm not bad-mouthing your book. It's just not my vibes at this current stage of my life. I probably would have loved this 10 years ago.
I would have ate this shit up.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
When I was really in my vampire phase,
I mean, this is what I mean. It is classic vampire trash fiction.
For me now, this doesn't sound like it's working for me, I'm afraid. But it sounds like it was fun.
You know what? It was... I listened to it at 1.2 or 3 speed, and it was, at that speed, a working day's worth of listen.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what?
It does sound fun.
It just got me through the day.
It sounds like a book that I would probably really love to write an essay on.
Like a feminist.
Yes,
feminist with lots of things to work
Maybe I'll do that. I'll do like a 10-point series on my TikTok about it.
My main criticism, it majorly relied on miscommunication, because at no point does anyone explain anything to the main character.
You've lost
ever.
me. That's my most hated trope ever.
Yeah, the whole time, like, they're like, and it's lots of, didn't so-and-so tell you?
I can forgive the underage sex. It's not underage. I can forgive the perverts. I can forgive the rape. But the miscommunication.
Oh my god, that would be such a good title for this episode. It's obviously a bit too explicit.
No, yeah. And people might not get this, a joke.
Yeah. So the whole time, there's lots of expositional moments of like, did he not tell you? Well, here's a fact about the world. And there's like these like pointless revelations over and over where it's like just shit world building. Where it like could have just been done in the world building and not as expositional dialogue.
Yeah.
That is actually my main issue with this. It's like no point does anyone explain anything to her properly, and even to the end we're like, did he not tell you?
I love your voice for this.
It's just, yeah.
Oh my god.
Over
and this
and
is
over.
a standalone?
No, because it ends on something like sort of a cliffhanger.
But it said it was a standalone.
I don't, but it's definitely not, because it's like, so...
Why have you done this to us? Did you name
At one point,
Did you name
Absalom goes to auction her off.
Huh?
Yeah. Well, apparently he never meant it. He was just going...
Just accidentally.
He just wanted everyone to know that he had her. Because she was, like, powerful.
For which purposes?
Also, not expect. It's because she's half witch, half vampire, she's really powerful or some shit?
Is this a book that started off as, like, just writing sex scenes and then they tried to make a storyline around it?
I feel like there's a strong possibility. Yes.
I mean, some of those books are great.
And she's, like, not like other girls, and she
Of course
has
not.
tattoos, and... But when she becomes a vampire, the tattoos disappear. Because you heal all your scars, and that's what tattoos are, really.
Does she get magic?
Yeah.
She's witchy witch.
She's magic, and she's different magic to the other vampires. So vampires have magic of their own powers.
Mm-hmm. What
Again,
type?
we're a bit Twilighty here. Different, depends on who. Depends on you. Everyone gets a gift.
Can they shout out bat and turn into a bat?
No, that's the thing from What We Do in the Shadows. By the way, excellent series and movie. Go watch it.
Love
And
that
like,
show.
flowers die around vampires, but not her.
Flowers die.
Flowers die.
Plants?
Plants just die.
Trees?
No, trees.
How far
trees,
do we go?
Trees seem
Grass?
to be immune, but cut flowers in a vase in the house die.
Flowers that are still growing outside?
I don't know.
I need to
They
know
don't
the
specify.
rules.
That's a really good point. And then
Like, could I just not walk past, like, parks without
just
killing
all
them?
going black, and he's like, everything's fine.
They go to
Don't worry about
they
me.
go to a nursery and all of the plants are just...
But she can, like, the plants don't die around her, and then she can make them come back to life.
I mean, this sounds fun.
Yeah, and there's a king of vampires.
There's a king.
There's a king of vampires who has an equally ridiculous name that I don't remember right now. And he is the one who turned Absalom, and he's a terrible, bad man.
Of course.
And he wants Lenore for reasons. I don't, it's a fucking awful book. Like, but it's so,
But did you have so much fun
good.
with it?
It came back around to
Yeah.
entertaining.
I mean, you're beaming. It looks like you had fun.
Yeah, you know what? It was just, you know when you get one of those things that it's just funny.
Mm.
It's just funny. And they find her parents again eventually, and her parents are like, well, we're not happy that you're with Absalom, but also, like, we can't deal with this, so fair. And at one point, she gets overcome by bloodlust and does bite someone, and Absalom acts like she's betrayed him. and has a little 300-year-old man tantrum.
I'm really like...
And doesn't talk to her for 2 days.
I'm really picturing... in What We Do in the Shadows, and they dress in like Victorian garb. That's what I'm imagining
exactly.
Absalom like.
Whereas he's wearing like suits and stuff the whole time.
No, this just sounds hilarious, and I love it.
And she's not allowed out alone. So then she's like, I want to go clubbing because I'm 21. And he's like, okay, fine, but I have to go with you. And then he goes, and they sit in some VIP booth away from everyone. And she's like,
of course.
Well, this is boring. And he's like, frivolous young thing. And she's like, well, yeah, I'm 21.
He's like getting out his glasses and his newspaper.
And like, obviously they kill off her best mate. Obviously.
Yeah. Well, she has to be reliant on him, otherwise where's the romance?
I'm
assuming
she kept escaping to go hang out with her friend. So...
like a child.
And it's like, she's like, I want to finish university. There's a big revelation at the end of this moment. He's like, you can be anything you want to be. Where do you want to go? Anywhere in the world, I'll take you.
I'm a feminist.
And she's like, well, I'd like to finish university. And then,
please.
And then she was doing something to do with archaeology and like art. So she was like, and then you can take me around the world and I can learn about this.
What else did you read? No, that sounds fun.
You know what? I don't want to disparage this author too much, but
I do not consume fun books like that. So...
Well, the thing is, I feel like this book wasn't trying to be fun. I think it was taking itself very seriously.
My apologies.
I think it's accidentally funny. It's not ironically funny.
I just really struggle. Like when I read that first in the Bargainer series, I can't remember what it's called now. Is it just called The Bargainer?
I don't know.
And I tried to just enjoy it for what it was, but the whole way through I'm like, the age difference weird. I don't like this, I don't like that, and I'm like, I can't.
All these
sometimes
things,
I can't turn off the feminism.
All these things that I enjoyed in books when I was younger, I can't enjoy them anymore.
Yeah.
There's a bit where she's like tied up in a dungeon for some reason before her transformation starts, where he's just like being wicked and brooding and like broody and won't give her food and won't tell her anything. And then she's like, explain to me what's happened. And he's like, foolish child. You know nothing, do you? And she's like, no, I know nothing.
That's why I'm asking a question.
Tell me. He's like, well, when the transformation starts. And she's like, what the fuck do you mean?
Yeah, what transformation? Dude, and why have you got a cape on? What is going on? Why are you sizzling in the light? Why do you keep hissing at me? This sounds like a parody.
It genuinely, I don't think they were trying to be a parody. Anyway, it's for free on In the Included Library if you have an Audible subscription. It's a 10-hour listen if you don't like speed it up. So, yeah.
So we're going to leave it there. We have so many books to talk about that we're going to split this into 2 parts. So come and join us next week to hear the rest of our reading update. In the meantime, come and follow us on Instagram, TikTok. Go to our website, which is lazybookloverspodcast.wordpress.com, and tell us what else you want us to read or talk about. And make sure you are subscribing, rating, leaving comments and downloading wherever you listen to the podcast. It really, really helps us know that you are there and you want more.
And then makes us very happy when we see the analytics.
So we will see you next week for part 2. Bye! Bye!